What's the process and the plan to make sure no matter what happens out there, there's these kind of always those contingencies when you need help? How does that look? The communication sides of it.
Each one of our sites has its own dedicated cell phone, so they're able to call the officer that's on duty.
Right.
Plus, we have my number that is all over the internet, and then we've got our toll-free number, and that way they can reach the different departments that they need to reach, whether it be Robert, our Tucson manager, or myself, and so there's always somebody they can't get a hold of. And then we have plans. We've got each individual officer's personal cell phone numbers, and then we always have field supervisors on the field, so that way we can respond if emergencies happen as well.
Let's talk about the technology of the world of what's going on now. What are some of the cutting edge technologies that are helping you and business owners do their job better?
Well, for us, it's about reporting the incidents and the different types of situations we find in the property to the client faster and more accurate. A lot of companies are still using handwritten reports, and for me, there's no accountability in that. I could sit at the local Denny's and write you a report and tell you everything that happened on your property that I wanted to make up. But we have a program called TrackTix that we use where everything is in real time. It's GPS mapped, so they know that the officer is there. We take pictures, and the client can actually see the pictures. We can even use it as a body cam and record video, so that way they can actually see what kind of property or what the problem actually was. And it comes in handy a lot, especially when there's people that are trying to sue, slip and falls, or, safety concerns and stuff like that. We're able to show that, there was a concern, but it wasn't in the area they said, or, we're able to bring the smallest little, liabilities to the client right away so they can get that fixed.
Right.
So therefore, there's no more foreseeable liability. They've taken care of that.
And if something has to go to a legal part of the world, this is all very important evidence of what actually happened.
It is, and it's very unfortunate that, that happens more now than ever, that people are just willing to jump on, try to sue somebody, for liability issues. But this really helps protect the client. Plus, it helps protect us because we can't be everywhere on the property at one time.
Sure.
So if something happens on the east side of the property, we're able to prove we were on the west side of the property, so they know we were physically there. And it's a good return of investment for them.
We're on with Ryan and Robert from Eagle Force Security, Eagle Force AZ. Jonathan Hoffman's here. We're all on video right now. We're on go to our KVOI YouTube page, and you'll see a basically stream live little button of us so you can see us in our beautiful faces right now. Good morning to you all. Do you ever have a situation where you have the owner who's mildly oblivious of what's going on their own property? And then you have that. I feel like that it's that show Mystery Diners on the Food Network, right? And then they kind of go, "Oh my God, what? That's really going on." How many of those moments do you have? Of
almost all the time, and that's where we come in. Yeah, we come in and educate.
Right.
We want them to know that we're there to actually help them out, and we point out some of the obvious things that do happen on the property, or not necessarily on their property, but surrounding their property. They need to be aware of. But a lot of managers don't know what really goes on at night on their property. They don't see that, they may think they have the nicest property. It's all lit up, but they don't realize they have burnt out lights, homeless people sleeping on the property, skateboarders, all these little things. They don't see it.
If you were going to sit with a business owner and talk about, cameras, right? Because sometimes you have a good budget. Sometimes it's, a budget where they can only pick selected spots. If you're going to prioritize where to put cameras, right? Whether the public spots, the employee spots, what's that hierarchy of how would you kind of, what's the priorities? Like, what's the basics, and then what would be the next level of where you should be putting cameras?
It depends on the property more so. It could end up being more of the public areas, because that's where if somebody was to get assaulted or something, you might have that video. That would be where I would focus the most, and then start focusing on doors, windows, hallways, but definitely dark spots in the property, where you might have nooks and crannies in the back of the property where somebody could pull somebody in and assault them that way. We look for the trouble zones on each property and let them know where we think most of their activity would take place or is going to take place.
And then I'm always thinking about where employees are handling money and cash.
Absolutely.
I assume that's another spot. Would that be in the first level, or would that be something like the next level of where you would put security stuff? Again, back to the nature. It would
probably be in the first. I mean,
okay.
You definitely, if you're You've got to be real careful with the cameras, though, because if you're using cameras that are pointing out of your property, then you've got to worry about different liabilities, handling other people's issues as well.
Right.
And then inside your property, you don't want to necessarily have too many cameras because then your employees think that you don't trust them.
Right.
Which, unfortunately, this day and age, too, we have a lot of, pilfer and, shrinkage that goes on in businesses. But at the same time, you let them know it's more for their protection, letting them know if something happened to them, then they've got that footage. So
it is interesting, right, that in this day and age now, that if your camera has too wide of an angle pointing out, or it's taking in too much, that now all of a sudden you're picking up these liability concerns because you're picking up stuff that has nothing to do with your business, but could, come back and hurt you.
Right, and then you've got, if your camera's facing somebody else's business and something happens, and they know that, then of course the police department's going to get involved, want your footage,
right,
all that. So there's also that invasion of privacy. If it happens to be going over somebody's wall into their backyard, they could get you on that. So there's a lot of different things to consider when it comes to cameras.
As you can hear, obviously these guys know what they're talking about. So if you want that free evaluation of your business and your community, please call them. And then, of course, Eagle Force AZ. EagleForceAZ.com, and the phone number is
844-75-EAGLE.
75-EAGLE. I almost said the first part wrong. 844-75-EAGLE. And so, just before I let you go, tell me about what our audience can be doing with you on Tuesday night. We want them to show up, correct?
Yeah, definitely want them to show up. Now, I did notice on my Facebook page, Adventures with Pappy, you have not yet saved your spot. We have limited seating. We only have 100 seats.
Ah, okay.
So, Wake Up Tucson needs to see Chris. Get on there. Reserve his spot. So we have it in the events page there. That way we can make sure that people that do reserve their spot get in, just in case if we reach our max. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have these are a great group of people to watch. If you've never seen the Pistol Peak Pistoleros, perform, they are amazing. They're awesome. They're interactive with the people, and we want to make it fun for filming. We're gonna really try to put on a good show.
I just the one thing I know I just did is I did go to your Free Wild West stunt show and Adventures with Pappy filming, and I just did an extra share to my Christopher D. Simone page.
So let's get out there. We have a lot of people that have shown interest, whether they're going to be there or they're not sure yet. But
okay,
we got 170 seats total. So.
And 8 o'clock will be nice and coolish, no sun beating on your head.
That's right.
Just a cool thing to do.
A lot of fun.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the show getting on Amazon. That's a nice first step for the show. But see, what Ryan's leading a double life here. Okay, he built up this amazing security company, right? A kid from Tucson here, right? He's in 2 different cities in Arizona, making it happen, and at the same time, you're trying to live the dream of being Pappy. Well, you are Pappy, but the idea of doing this travel show, because that's something you also love.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I still enjoy the security part of it as well. So it's, going to keep going.
Awesome. We got one last question with we had a question from a guest before we get going. So let's go to line 2. Jeff, number 1, you're on with Robert and Ryan from Eagle Force Security. What's up, sir?
So here's my question. Every time you see the TV showing surveillance videos, it's grainy, out of focus, and they always say, if you think you know who this person is, and it's really difficult because it's a really terrible quality. So I'm hoping hardware today is as sharp as a cell phone.
Well, cameras can be real finicky on that. Sometimes we can never really see who the actual suspect is. It just depends on how much money you're willing to spend on your camera systems, but there are a lot of really good quality ones that you don't have to spend a lot of money on. But the problem is if it is grainy and they can't physically actually make out the person, then you can't technically use that in court because you have to physically see the person commit the crime in order for them to actually be charged on it, which is really sad. But it just depends on how much you're willing to spend on camera systems. And there's some really good ones, like Costco has a pretty decent little one. It's a Samsung camera system that I use around my house and some of my businesses. And
those are good. Those are good in low light and everything else.
They are, okay. And you've got to make sure that you've got the ones that have low light. That they're hardwired. They're not battery powered.
Right.
And if it's Wi-Fi, then the Wi-Fi is constantly on, or if it's hardwired to internet as well.
I've seen some cameras that have the high powered LEDs around them, and then they flat at night. Is that something that would be preferred?
That's pretty good. That one will keep your lighting consistent, because a lot of times, people don't spend, or read the information on the specifics on the camera, and it doesn't handle the lighting. As soon as that nighttime comes, it's dark. You can't see anything at all.
Correct. So you have a camera system that can work somewhere between 8 and 10 hours a day.
That's right.
All right.